This is episode 48, and today's topic is Wanderlust. What's left on our Japan travel bucket list? Hello, Sue.
Hey.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm very well. Now, we talked about bucket lists before. So the bucket list is the list of things that you want to do before you die. In this case, we're talking about places in Japan that we haven't been to yet, but we still want to go to. So we have the word Wanderlust in the title. Can you tell me what that word means, Wanderlust?
I'm not very sure.
Okay. Wanderlust basically means your desire to travel. If you have a wanderlust, it means you have this desire to travel. So wander, obviously, is to move around a place, usually without really thinking, but wanderlust is basically your desire to travel. So we've got a few places to talk about. We're very lucky. We've done a lot of traveling in Japan already. So maybe some of these places are a little less well known. The first place is Hokkaido.
We haven't been to the north.
Of Japan?
Of Japan, yeah.
No, not really. Not really to the north. And Hokkaido is the northernmost island in Japan. And it's the least densely populated part of Japan as well, I think. Which we talk about population density is the number of people for every square kilometer. So Hokkaido is very open, lots of land, not many people. So why would you want to go to Hokkaido?
Well, I've heard food is really good.
Okay, what kind of food?
Hokkaido food, seafood.
Okay.
Yeah, Hokkaido seafood.
Such as?
Maybe crab or sashimi or, I don't know. I also think ramen, like Hokkaido style ramen is quite good.
That is the thing, yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, there's a few different regions that have a distinctive style of ramen. Can you remember what the Hokkaido ramen is?
Is it not with corn?
Yeah.
Sweet corn?
And butter, I think maybe.
Maybe.
Which is unusual if you've spent all your time in Tokyo. You don't see that style of ramen
very
in
often.
Tokyo. It's not the Tokyo standard.
No.
I think the Tokyo standard is shoyu.
I think so.
Could be. We are not experts on ramen by any means. But yeah, you're right. Hokkaido ramen is very different. Corn, butter because they have a lot of dairy.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Cheesecake or any kind of soft cream.
Yeah, cheese, milk, obviously ice cream, those kind of things. Yeah, so dairy is a big thing. So butter in the ramen. Hokkaido ice cream, those kind of things. Yeah, so, and I think maybe also beef. And I think is it the Genghis Khan sort of grill thing that they do, where they've got this special style of grill, and the meat just kind of grills and the fat kind of pours off the side.
Because it's kind of shaped like a helmet, right?
Yeah, the Genghis Khan is, apparently this comes from Mongolia. So what the soldiers would do is they would use their helmet to basically grill meat. So the meat would kind of, the fat from the meat would kind of go down the sides, I guess. That was the idea. That's the story that I've heard anyway. So yeah, meat, dairy, those kind of things. So that's very different to the rest of Japan, which focuses on vegetables and seafood. For me, Hokkaido is a slightly more maybe Western style cuisine.
But there's also other cultures, right? In Hokkaido.
Okay. Like Ainu?
The Ainu. Yes. the Ainu culture. And they were very different from the rest of Japan.
Ainu would be what we would call an indigenous, so native culture.
And they look different as well. So, yes.
So you're talking about their facial structure is different. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's what Hokkaido can provide is a little bit different from what you can see here, down.
I think an interesting history, different culture.
Very, very different history.
Okay.
Very different culture. So I think Hokkaido can be quite interesting to go to.
Okay. And obviously the beauty of the countryside, mountains, lakes, volcanoes, and winter, you've got great skiing, snowboarding. Okay, Hokkaido. The next one I would like to go to is a place called the Izu Peninsula. Peninsula in the Japanese term would be Hanto. And that's part of Shizuoka Prefecture. It's quite easy to get there from Tokyo. It's not far. And one of the popular places in Izu is a place called Atami, a city called Atami, which is on the coast. And it's a very popular onsen town, so hot spring town. What's interesting about Atami is that it's an onsen town on the coast. Usually onsen towns tend to be in the mountains in very remote areas. But Atami is an onsen town on the coast, so the water is often a little bit salty.
Right.
And it's a very popular place for people from Tokyo to go down for a weekend. It's quite easy to access. There's a Shinkansen stop at Atami. And the rest of the Izu Peninsula, you've got a very rugged coastline. So when we talk about a rugged coastline, we're talking about not mountains. We're talking about cliffs, rocks, maybe kind of rocky beaches, those kind of places. It's an interesting kind of coastline. There's a lot going on. And obviously it's a peninsula, so, it has a lot of coastline. And the last thing I want to say here is on one side, so on the west side of the peninsula, they have views over to Mount Fuji. So if you look across the Suruga Bay, you can actually see Mount Fuji on a good day. And that's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting to see Mount Fuji over the ocean.
Yeah.
It's not an ocean, it's a bay, but it's a big bay. So yeah, I think there's nice pictures. I think people do a lot of surfing down there as well. So yeah, I think that's somewhere that we can definitely visit quite easily. One place that you talked about was a place called Sado Island, or in Japanese the term would be Sadogashima. Why do you want to go to Sado Island?
Well, Sado is quite famous for a summer festival, right? And it's these Japanese drums. And that's where I understand, they train. And then, this is kind of the big moment when they present what they've been training for.
Right. Yeah, this is interesting because this is in Niigata Prefecture. And this was one of the first places I visited when I came to Japan in 2005. Literally the first weekend I was in Japan, I went to this island. And the summer festival you're talking about is the Earth Celebration Festival. And the drumming group that you're talking about is called Kodo. So Kodo. And that group, they live on the island. They train on the island, and it's very, very intense. It's a small group of drummers or performers, not just drummers, I think, but different performers. And they really train almost like military style. Like they're up in the morning, they'll go for a 10-kilometer run every day. They do interesting things like they eat their food using their weak hand. So if they are right-handed, they will use chopsticks in their left hand to kind of improve their ability with both hands. Really interesting kind of little things that they do, but they're incredible.
I was lucky enough. I haven't been to Sado, but I was lucky enough. I was in Edinburgh, and they came and they had a presentation, and I went to see them, and it was amazing. Mm-hmm. So I can't imagine how incredible it would be within the island.
Yeah,
and with all the people, just kind of a little bit more free.
Yeah,
because this was like a closed space.
Yeah, that was in. You saw them in a theater.
In a theater, yeah.
Yeah. Whereas the summer festival, it's basically up a small mountain where they perform. You need to hike up this hill, and then it's a natural theater. So there's trees around, everyone's sitting on the grass, and you got the stage, and yeah, just the summer heat, it's magical. So yeah, Sadogashima, but specifically for the summer festival, would be a great thing to do. I've been lucky to have been there a few times. Okay. Okinawa. We went to Okinawa for the first time a few months ago, in the spring, and we had a great time. It was very different to other parts of Japan.
It was, yeah.
It's a kind of tropical. It's tropical islands. It's very, very far south. It's about 2.5 hours by plane. From Tokyo.
It's actually very, very far.
Yeah. So very different atmosphere, different climate. And we went to the main island. We went to a resort on the main island. Beautiful beaches, nice hotels, interesting food. But I think if we were to go back to Hokkaido, I would like to go...
To Okinawa.
Sorry, Hokkaido. I would like to... Start again. If we were to go back to Okinawa, I would try to go to Ishigaki Island. So this is a much more remote island. I think you can get direct flights from Tokyo. They're not as common. Maybe it's more common to fly to Naha, which is the main city in Okinawa, and then take another plane. But for me, that would be really interesting, to go to a very, very remote tropical island in Okinawa.
I heard, because people from Okinawa, they, again, Hokkaido, there's a different group of people, the Ainu, and in Okinawa, they are also a different group.
Yeah, I mean, historically, Okinawa was a different kingdom.
It was a different kingdom.
Was it Ryukyu? Is that what it's called?
I think
Ryukyu? So. It was a different kingdom.
So they're very proud, as they should.
Yeah.
So yeah, people, they consider themselves from Okinawa, but also I heard someone saying like, well, no, I'm, yes, Okinawan, but from these islands, which is also kind of an identity.
Yeah.
So I would expect that island will also have very different things and very different ways of doing things. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think that exploring that would be quite incredible. Yeah,
I think, going back to Okinawa, understanding the history as well would be very interesting. There's certain things you see in Okinawa that are very distinctively Okinawa, like the little kind of lions that you see around.
Every single house.
Every house has a pair of these like little lions at the front. And I guess you would see them at shrines as well. But they're very, very distinctive and a very typical souvenir from visiting Okinawa. Okay. Maybe one more that we can talk about would be onsen towns. Now, maybe I can talk about these as one group. But going to little onsen towns is really, it's a lovely little kind of escape for a weekend. And some that I would like to visit would be Nozawa. Nozawa is in Nagano Prefecture. It's actually where they had the Nagano Olympics, the Winter Olympics.
Right.
And that's a very traditional little onsen town. It's got lots of kind of public onsen. So you have a towel and you walk around, and these onsen are just open for people to use. So you just go in and you've got a bath. You don't need to pay.
Right.
These are free for people to use. You go in and you have this. It's a very strange experience if you're not used to it, or you don't know what to expect, because you're basically jumping in a bath with other people. And I did visit. I have been to Nozawa, snowboarding, incredible snowboarding, some of the best snowboarding I've ever had. And we went around the onsen in the evening, and it's strange. It's a nice experience, but it's weird for me culturally. Anyway, Nozawa, I think Beppu. What do you know about Beppu?
Is it not the one that is in the cartoons, The Spirited Away? No.
No. That's in Shikoku.
Right.
Yeah, Shikoku. That I can't remember the name of that. Yeah, it's a specific onsen building that you're talking about, I think.
Right.
It's in Matsuyama. I can't remember. Maybe it's in Matsuyama. But yeah, it's the Shikoku onsen. Shikoku? Yeah, Shikoku building that you're talking about. Beppu is in Kyushu.
Mm-hmm. That's quite south.
Kyushu is the southernmost main island of the 4 main islands in Japan. And that's I think that's kind of where the first kind of onsen were. It's very, very volcanic. Mm-hmm. There's lots of volcanic energy, thermal energy down there. It's probably the most famous onsen town, I would say, in Japan. But it's far. It's far from Tokyo, so it's not easy for us to get to. A couple more, maybe Kusatsu, which we've been to before, but we haven't spent much time in.
No, and it's an incredible place. I really enjoyed just walking around because the water is so hot that you can see it outside. It just runs through. It's
open air, yeah.
It's open air.
Yeah, it's so hot that they need to cool it down.
They do, yes. So some onsens, even though you're not staying there, at certain times, I think the people from the onsen come with wooden pallets.
Yeah, not pallets, planks.
Planks.
Like long bits of wood.
To move the water, to cool it a little bit.
Yeah.
And that it's something you can go and watch.
They've kind of turned it into a bit of a performance. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I think usually women who do it.
I think so.
And they maybe sing a little song while they're doing it. I'm not sure. But Kusatsu, again, quite easy to get to from Tokyo. Mm-hmm. It's not far. You can get buses or you can drive. Kusatsu. And probably the most picturesque or photogenic onsen town is Ginzan Onsen up in Yamagata Prefecture. Have I showed you pictures of this before?
I think so, yeah.
This, maybe this is the Spirited Away place that you're talking about. Maybe this is the Spirited Away onsen town that you're... I think maybe this, the one that in Shikoku is different. Yeah, I think you are thinking about this onsen town. This is the one that in winter looks very, very magical. Mm-hmm. With very, very deep snow and little kind of bridges and nice kind of buildings, old kind of traditional architecture. Yeah, I think that if you watch the movie Spirited Away, this is kind of the style of onsen that they have in that movie. And this is, it's a beautiful place. It's expensive. If you want to stay in one of these onsen, it's really, really expensive. And you also need to book months in advance. You know, like we're recording this in September. If we tried to book now for this winter, probably we couldn't get a booking. So it's very, very popular. But I think it would be an incredible place to visit. Certainly one for the bucket list. And that's a wrap for today's episode of the English with Colin podcast. I hope you enjoyed listening to the conversation and found it helpful in your language learning journey. Remember, the key to mastering a language is regular practice. So make sure you listen to our podcast regularly and keep honing your listening skills. We appreciate your support and feedback. So if you have any comments, questions, or suggestions for future topics, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. You can find our contact information in the show notes. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to joining you again next time for another conversation in English. Until then, keep practicing and take care.